Yeah,
before
go
we get
for it.
off. So I talked to you before we got on about the
Mhm.
Russian 5 documentary that came out
Yes, I almost
last
forgot
year.
about this.
I think it came out 2019. But if you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime right now.
Mhm.
Um, and I would actually suggest watching it, even if you aren't a big hockey fan. It's actually a really good documentary, kind of documentary these 5 Russians that joined the Red Wings. Their runs, not completely making it to the cup, but always being around there. And just the first kind of Russians to be implemented into the National Hockey League. Well,
Mhm.
obviously, Cold War and all that was happening. It's a really good watch if you want to watch it, but I kind of feel like talking about that now. So
Yeah, no, we can.
since we got nothing else going on, it's still hockey related,
Yes.
and
Yeah,
I
right.
like that documentary a lot and that team. And
And
that goes back
if you
to
don't know who the Russian Five is by any
yes,
chance, the Russian Five consisted of Sergei Fedorov, Slava Fetisov, Slava Kozlov, Igor Larionov, and Vladimir Konstantinov. These guys during the 90s, they all played together. Some acquired by trade, some acquired by draft,
it was a
what have
big
you.
yeah, it was a big deal when they drafted them too.
It was. It
It
was.
was it was also Steve Steve Yzerman near the end as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
Um,
You had a whole bunch of these tremendous players, and uh, the
and if I have to rank this Flyers team as closeness as any other team, it's that Red Wings team. They were really
yeah.
close.
Oh yeah, because again, one thing that helped bring them together was that Konstantinov
Mhm.
limousine accident that ended his career, unfortunately, and
Unfortunately, and then they played
uh,
that next year for him,
that
and
that
they
was
won.
only days after they won the '97 Cup,
Mhm.
and then '98 they came together, they rallied, and they won the Cup, dominating Washington to win back Stanley Cups.
Mhm.
And one of the coolest things you'll ever see, they brought Konstantinov out on the ice in his wheelchair, and
Because
Stevie Yzerman.
I don't even think they even knew he was there watching,
I
or maybe they
don't.
did.
They I think they did. I can't remember. I want to say
Because
they
yeah, I
did.
remember them saying they just panned over to him and he was in the stands. I forget if they said if they weren't sure if he was actually at the game or if they just realized he
I
was at
got
the
you.
game then.
I can't
But then there was
remember.
a big loud applause for him and everything.
Yeah, but something that
Because
was so
that
awesome
was I
though
think
was
that was
he got handed the cup.
also hockey community wise,
Yeah.
nobody felt any animosity because they won that cup because of that situation and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but all in all, though, the
But that
documentary.
was the one thing I want to bring up was
Yeah.
our good buddy Scott Stevens from New Jersey, who Flyers fans know very well from Lindros's hit. I didn't realize until I was watching the documentary he had another one on Detroit that kind of messed him up as well.
Yeah.
I think it was Steve Yzerman, I think. I forget who.
Probably.
Yeah. And it was another one where it's kind of questionable, but it was like this asshole.
Yeah.
But that was the
What's
thing
wrong?
that was with that team was that they had such great skill, but if you hit them around, that they would just crumble. And that's how Colorado beat them. That's how all these teams kind of beat them every year. And
Yeah.
then they were finally able to get every year they're able to get more of these kind of Russian players because
Mm.
as a unit they worked great together.
Oh my God,
Um,
they were phenomenal. So
and
it's
they
funny
even
because
showed like the different kind of playing styles and
playing
how they
style.
played that versus the traditional kind of thinking of playing.
Yeah.
And they
And
just and the
Scotty
funny thing
Bowman. Yeah.
was just that they were saying it was just keep away. We are just playing
Yeah.
keep away.
Yeah. So a very similar documentary to the Russian Five is Red Army, and that's another tremendous documentary. That's not only about the Russian Five, but it's just the Soviet hockey team
Mhm.
during. It kind of goes over their history a bit, but specifically focuses on like that '90s era and everything. And one of the best things that they did is when they were interviewing Scotty Bowman, he went into the locker room and this is during a practice or something. It was something like that. And he said he went up to all 5 guys and he said, "Guys, I don't know where you learned to play like that. I have only one request: don't change anything." And he kept them all together. And when they're on the ice together, they were pure magic. Not only
And
that,
the
but their playing style included a lot of one-touch passes, but when they
mhm.
saw a play that they didn't like, when they orchestrated it, they brought it out of the zone and they reconstructed everything. And that wasn't like the NHL back then,
Oh.
and everyone was just blown away by their playing style.
And that was a big thing because obviously the Miracle on Ice, that
Yes.
whole thing with the United States being Russia and everything, or Soviet Union at the time,
Yep.
and how. But even if and both those documentaries and even the 30 for 30 documentary was on the same thing.
Miracles of Men. Yep.
But that the way the Soviet Union and how they trained those Russian players,
Oh my God,
wow.
it was brutal.
It was brought up in the Russian 5 documentary. It's brought up in every one
And
of these.
Red
How
Army.
yeah, how tough these guys go. And I'm assuming
Yeah.
it's not as tough as what Ivan Provorov does during
No.
his training, but I have now a better understanding of maybe how hard he goes.
Yes. So, perfect example of how intense these guys are. So, players, and also like just coaching wise, the coaches management style. So, Viktor Tikhonov was the head coach of the 1980 team for the Soviet Union that lost to the U.S. But at one point, I can't remember when this was, but it was still when he was head coach of the Soviet team. A player came up to him and asked him if he could go home to see his dying father in the hospital just to say his goodbyes. Tikhonov would not let him go see his father.
Mm-hmm.
That's how intense these guys are. That's how much they
It was
care
hockey.
about.
I think it was brought
Yeah,
up in the Russian 5 documentary. It was like you ate, you worked, or you just played hockey. You just
yeah.
practiced and ate, and
It's
that was
just
kind of
it's
it.
unbelievable.
Or trained. It was one of those things.
Yeah, the training sessions. It was like 6 hours a day, like
Mm-hmm.
two or it was like 3 or 4 hours a day, like two
Mm-hmm.
uh two training sessions a day type of thing. It was unheard of.
It was like daily too.
It was like you would. Oh, I
So
cannot
it
imagine that.
so it kind of makes sense why they were so dominant in that
Right.
time, but also why some of those guys, wow, the training
Wanted
that
to
they
defect. And the first one was Alexander Mogilny, who came over to the States, and he actually, because the Buffalo Sabres drafted him one year, and they snuck him out of Russia,
mm-hmm.
and they drafted him, and before everyone knew it, in the middle of the night, he left and he defected, and he played in the NHL. He was the first one to go there.
That's what they were bringing up in the Russian 5 documentary too.
Yep.
When they had
Yep.
to tell him that these two guys were drafted, he was like he showed him like a note or something, said you were drafted this
Yeah.
spot by the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
And then there was like the
Wow.
one meeting where they were playing the Russian team. I think the Red Wings were playing the Russian team in
Mm.
Detroit, and they met up at like 2 a.m. or something like that with one of the
Mm.
players.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure this Fedorov,
Yeah, I think it was.
but it's just both documentaries are phenomenal watches.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have all the time in the world to watch it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But
If you need
highly
it's a
recommend
good
it.
kind of feel good story too.
It really is. It's very
And
interesting, and
as a
like Mike
Flyers
said,
fan, I
yeah,
was only a couple months old, so I think as that young, I think I'm the only one that could say that because other Flyers fans that probably lived it and getting swept by the Red Wings, that Red
yeah.
Wings team, probably feel differently. But
I know my dad does.
I'm perfectly fine losing to that team.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Other Flyers fans, but absolutely see it different. This way
Oh
we
yeah.
see the 2010 Flyers losing that one. That's how fans probably feel that way as well.
Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah. All right.
Because
So
even in that documentary, it was mentioned that the Flyers were the ones that were expected to win that cup.
they were, because again, the
Legion of
Legion of
Doom.
Doom was just absolutely just wrecking everybody that year, and the whole team together was clicking left and right, and no one really thought Detroit had that chance, and
Nope.
they proved it. So
And that
they
was another
proved it.
thing that happened with the Flyers too. There was a couple big hits that the Red Wings gave on Flyers players, and the Flyers just weren't able to go back.
Yep, that's exactly right.
but still, I will change my ruling. The greatest rivalry ever, Red Wings Avalanche, because that just went players, organization, everything. They hated each other in the 90s.
Oh yeah, it was bad blood every single game. Oh man.
It was all started by the one, situation in the playoffs, but still.
Yup.
If you want a good rivalry,
Chris Draper hit.
Yep. If you want to look at a rivalry or look at a history of a rivalry, if you got the spare time, and you probably do, with nothing else going on, check out that one. It's obviously not around now because Red Wings in their Eastern Conference now, Colorado is still in the West. So they obviously don't only play each other twice now. So the rivalry is not as what it used to be. But if you want to see what it was at the high point, either watch Russian 5 documentary or look it up somewhere, because there's absolutely some probably YouTube video or some documentary that's documenting how that rivalry is.
Oh yeah, 100%. You could easily find something. Just literally type in Colorado, Detroit, 1990 rivalry or 1990s rivalry, and something will pop up. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
It is. I think
in fact, I might go watch that right now because it's so entertaining.
It is.